Althea was one of the sweetest dogs I've met while working at the shelter. She just looked different. When Althea came into the San Jose Animal Shelter, not only was she matted and dirty, but she also had a large, unsightly mass on her head. Most people would have looked at her and cringed. They probably would have chosen to euthanize her. We decided to go a different route. We wanted to remove the mass to determine whether it was cancer. Given the location of the mass, we expected that her left eye would need to be removed as well. But, as it turned out, plans changed. Once under anesthesia and after her matted hair was groomed, I realized that Althea's left eye wasn't as affected by the mass as I had previously thought, though the distance between her eyelid and the mass was just a few millimeters. I had a plan for how I was going to remove both the mass and her eye, but suddenly that plan was no longer appropriate. I wanted to save Althea's eye. I just wasn't sure how. Though it was a challenging surgery, I was able to remove the mass, and Althea got to keep her eye. However, when closing the skin, the tension placed on Althea's eyelid made her eye look squinty. Nonetheless, she could now see out of both eyes. Over time, the swelling and tension decreased, and her eye eventually became less squinty. We spent a great deal of time with her while we waited for the lab to let us know whether the mass was cancer. We were elated to finally hear that the mass removed from Althea's head was a benign tumor called a trichoblastoma, and Althea ultimately went up for adoption and found her forever home. Althea's story is a great example of why we shouldn't judge based upon appearances. She looked unusual when she arrived at the shelter, and she may still look different to some people. However, Althea has an amazing personality, and she doesn't see what you see. She now sees the world through two eyes instead of one. And that's pretty special.